Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
So make sure we're good. So again, this is going up on Evolutionary, and we want to invite everybody to come and join us over on EEARTS as well. That's our other channel, and we're trying to at least get one video up on each channel each day. And we also want to thank our Patreons, because we couldn't do it without you guys, for your support over there in these times of demonization.
And that's what it's up to too, because when we tried to put one up on, or almost any of them lately on EEARTS, they're not having it. So your guys is, we're very grateful for your help. Thank you.
Well, as far as it's gotten a lot more sensitive,
Yes.
with everything getting demonetized, you can't really talk about too much nowadays. As we know, this is the breakdown of the system that we were in. So if you want to learn more about Cindy and myself, please join us also over at evolutionaryenergyarts.com, where you could read some testimonials about what we do. And if you need to reach us, it's EEARTS at Proton Mail or evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. And do check out Medicinal Foods, Sky Cubby and Ishmael and everybody over there. Great people, really good, healthy products. These are things that can definitely help boost your immune system. Everything from, different bundles on herbs and living greens and micro mushrooms, not those type of mushrooms, and many other things, colloidal silver. It goes on with good stuff. Use coupon code EEA to get an extra 5% off the order, and it does support the channel. So we know today is a big day where we have the dates for men. And again, we have to be a little bit, careful about how we say it. So, when we're talking this word, we say dates for men. It's just part of our little lingo. So they're hearing arguments, and they're going to make a decision. People are expecting a decision by the end of the month, certainly, maybe earlier, as to whether the Supreme Court says yay or nay.
Well, whenever anything's left up to this system, there's hardly ever an answer. And then if there is an answer, they overturn it. So.
Well, I think part of the thing, too, is I think some people have found some things kind of shocking as far as like the way they view things, sometimes even a lack of knowledge on things. When you're talking the highest court in the land, I think there's been some decisions in the past year that have shocked some people. And here you see, this is from Election Wizard, a quote attributed to Justice Sotomayor. Why is a human not like a machine, in parentheses, which OSHA can regulate, if it's spewing virus? Seriously?
Yep.
Humans and machine. Now you're talking straight out assimilation into the Borg, where you're viewing humans and machines as being on an equal playing field. I mean, what do you guys think about that statement?
It's pretty disgusting, actually. It's something that they put the word justice in front of, even though they're just addressing another person, but the word justice shouldn't be in that statement at all.
And the same justice, there's a quote that she said that over 100,000 children are in serious condition and many on machinery, which is not reality. So, again, this is the highest court in the land. But then again, it's staggering. I do watch what some of our highest level politicians say. And honestly, the ignorance is just mind-blowing at times. Absolutely mind-blowing. When we look at the way this planet is governed, again, we either have to say that, people truly don't know what they're doing, which is really, really bad, obviously, or they do know what they're doing, which is even worse.
Well, that's the problem. We have these the best minds on the planet, all in this collective energy, and this is the best they can do.
Yes. And, we are definitely in a time where you have to be able to look and observe for yourself. And so, this is sad, and I want to send prayers to the family. High school hockey player dies after injury during game at Brunswick School. This is in New Canaan, and a very affluent school. I think it costs like $47,000 a year to go to this school. We're seeing way too many accidents out there, way too many unusual things that we just didn't see before. We really didn't see en masse like this. And so, looking at, and this is St. Luke's school, looking at this one, because we're going to be talking about a young man that had an accident over here. One of their things that they date for minute is that come the second semester, January 19th, every person grade 5 and up must be, must have something met, a certain requirement met. Remember, we were talking about how the terminology has changed. You must be up to date, basically. And, here we see the headline about this poor boy, Teddy Balkind, who was playing for St. Luke's private school, and he fell to the ground, or smashed into him, and he's no longer with us. Now, he went to that school with that particular date for men. Is that, is there a correlation? Well, everybody's going to have to make their own assumption, and we'll wait to see what comes out, if there is or isn't. But then again, do we? I think a lot of people don't necessarily believe any narratives anymore as we were waking up. And here we see a tennis ace struggling to breathe. And obviously, these people are, when we're talking elite level athletes, they're in good shape. They're in a lot better shape than the average person. So he was forced to retire after struggling to believe. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's a slip there, guys. We're struggling to believe some of the stuff we're seeing on this planet. And so, he had to retire. And, we've seen so many people with issues of the heart. And here we see another Australian tennis star who says they're not being held captive, but are they? Because if we go down further, well, at least, they say he's not. I think we should say they say he's not being held captive. So we see, there's these players that had their visas canceled because they've been perhaps outspoken about not wanting to do a certain date for men, and they're stuck, as we see here. This one here, Czech tennis pro Vorakova joins Djokovic in Australian immigration detention. Had her visa canceled too, in a sweep by authorities on players entering the country with exemptions to the dates for men rulings. I mean, is that not being held against your will?
Well, I mean, in my vocabulary understanding, it would be held against your will.
Yeah, exactly. And when you see, other people that were healthy and vibrant in the prime of life, and they're having issues, and you have questions yourself, how could you be blamed for having questions? And still we have this going on. The Mayo Clinic fires 700 that did not go along with the dates for men for the Mayo Clinic. So they've let go of 700, and all this leads to just more chaos in so many different areas, critical areas. So we have troops being deployed here in London amid this surge, and crash course, because these young men are now going to be taking the place of perhaps some others that are professionals at what they're doing. Not that these guys might have training, or maybe they're learning on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, he puts his gloves on, got his mask. I mean, he's set, he's ready, but it's almost like they're trying to make something kind of normal in day-to-day living when people see the military take over.
Yeah, seeing the military. Well, and we'll talk more about what's happening over in Kazakhstan too, because there's a lot of reports coming out saying it's not necessarily about fuel cost increases, that what's going on in there is more of a complete rebellion against the system in general, which would be massive. And by the way, Russia is sending troops in, as well as some other countries, to try to maintain the status quo. And the guides pointed out, watch what's happening there. Again, because it could be a blueprint for what we're going to see in so many other places.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing to recognize, and this is really our mission. Our mission is not just to bring people the news. No, no, no. We want to wake people up. This is why we do this. This is our whole purpose for even being here at this place and this time, is to wake people up at the end of a dark age, when we're going to be starting to head out of a dark age into a better time, because it is a period that is fraught with difficulties. It's just the nature of the beast, because those that control the system of the BAST, right, they don't want to give up their power. They're all about power and control. And yet, we need to wake people up to the reality that's all around them. And it's inevitable that the system's going to disintegrate. They know it. They know it. Again, Satan knows its time is short. But not everybody understands exactly what Satan is. Satan is the adversary to humanity, which in this case is actually the entire system that we see ourselves in.
Yes, it's that matrix, that thing we call a matrix, where there's protocols, processes, procedures. They have, they've really done a very good job at defining this for us and telling us how we're going to live and what we're going to do with every moment of every day of our lives. And we really shouldn't be living that way. We should be living free.
Absolutely. We were not created to, and this is going to be something that's hard for people that are in a certain mindset because of their indoctrination and what they've been taught, but we were not created to solely just worship a creator day and night for all eternity. When you feel the love of source, then you might want to do nothing but simply bask in it for all eternity and just send love and gratitude out to it. But it's not something that you have to do. You're free to do anything you like, because ultimately source is in you, and source is expressing itself in a unique way through you, which is different than through me or through anybody else. One size does not fit all.
Free to do as you like without judgment.
Absolutely. John Wheeler talked about the universe being a participatory universe. And he was a scientist, philosopher, who introduced the concept of wormholes and coined the term black hole. He pioneered the theory of nuclear fission with Niels Bohr and introduced the S matrix, the scattering matrix used in quantum mechanics. This is a very intelligent gentleman, and one of his doctoral students was Richard Feynman, who was a Nobel Prize laureate as well. And these amazing minds that came about early in the 20th century and gave us, so much of what we know, along with, Einstein, and of course, Planck and Tesla, and they gave us an understanding of quantum physics and how things work, and the fact that everything is just basically random until it's observed, and then it takes form, it takes shape due to consciousness. It's all about consciousness. And the whole purpose of the universe is to participate, is to create, to explore what could possibly be, what could we do, what can we manifest in our own lives. And again, it's all about free will in reality. And this goes perfectly in line with what we call the Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal wisdom, the eternal truth, which traces all the way back to the golden ages. And this is a nice little article that puts a lot of little things together for those that might never have been exposed exposed to these different thoughts. Because there was a couple comments, and there was comments on David Devine's channel, Adapt 2030, where we were doing a talk. And one guy said, yoga is nothing but exercises with a little bit of mysticism thrown in. And, just kind of really dismissed it and has no concept about how much it explores consciousness. When we're talking about the Sanatana Dharma, when you go into the traditions like Buddhism, Jainism, and of course, Hinduism, as well as Taoism, and studying the Western mystery tradition and the Kabbalah and Gnosticism and Hermeticism, all these systems are exploring consciousness itself, because ultimately consciousness is all that there is. Everything else is a playground for consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is a playground for consciousness. When you come to the realization that I am no thing, just meditate on that. I am no thing. Anything you want to share?
Yes, it's where they have this system that we're sitting in, and they take complete control over our free will, and we walk into their system of our own free will. That's more of being captured. It's not allowing the soul to express itself, to explore itself, to understand itself. They manipulate our energies, and they have a system from cradle to grave for us to walk into so that they can control our free will. Awakening is about understanding that. Awakening is about viewing things from another perspective that has not been laid out before you. It's awakening is feeling the freedom of your soul and being able to express your emotions to the point of understanding or to the point of completion. And that's what we deserve.
Absolutely. And I think this is a nice introductory article for people starting to explore new ways of looking at things. And it posits the question, is it possible the laws of physics hold the secret to creating the life you want? What is reality? Well, truly, are we creating the life we really want? Or are we creating the life that others want us to have? That they want to keep us locked in a certain frequency, a certain vibration, a certain manufactured reality. According to quantum physics, nothing fully exists until it's observed. And the act of observation changes what's observed. This is, again, the particles taking shape in front of our very, very eyes. Reality has an ever-shifting dreamlike structure. Scientists from the field of quantum physics, evolutionary biology, neuroscience, psychology, and behavioral genetics are building massive amounts of data validating the theory that how you think changes what happens to you and the world around you. So when you are given a concept, say, of original sin, and you think, well, I'm worthless, I deserve to be burned for all eternity, because they tell me so, and I need somebody to come save me because I'm of no worth myself. That is so negative. That is so self-defeating. That takes the power, right away from you and the wind right out of your sails. And that's not the truth. It's simply not the truth. Each one of us is a unique expression of Source. Because again, if Source is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, it's got to be in us. It can't not be in us. It has to be in everything, just by the very definition. So when you realize that the true God is within you, and you realize it's within everything you look at, you might look at a bird a little differently. You might look at your dog a little differently. You certainly might look at your spouse or your children a little differently. Maybe even your boss. And this leads to a greater understanding of the oneness of all, which opens the heart chakra, which is the true mission of Yeshua. And again, the anointing that is spoken of when we talk about christened is not just for Yeshua. It's for everybody. It's the realization, it's the self-realization that Source lies within. Yeshua said, the Father and I are one. And he almost got stoned for it. But you can say the same thing because Source is in you as well. It could be no other way. Because then how could, if he was the only one, the only begotten Son of Source, of God, then how could he say greater things you will do than I do? That would be an impossibility too. How could that possibly be? We shared with you on EEARTS Anandamayi Ma, who was thought to be a saint of the Sanatana Dharma tradition, as well as other traditions too, because she said, you can call me a Christian, you could call me a Buddhist, you could call me a Hindu, you could call me whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. All those things are just flavorings and stuff. It's what is in your heart. It is, are you living a heart-centered life, a truly christened life, anointed life, which is, again, what is the anointing? Well, that's when the dormant energy inside of us, the Kundalini energy, which is Shakti energy, which is goddess energy. There's a reason why they don't accentuate the divine mother, divine feminine energy, because that energy, when it's kindled at the base of your spine, leads to illumination. It leads to enlightenment and the understanding of the oneness of all things. There's a reason why they poison the water, the air, they make everything toxic, why they cause all this toxicity to the land and the mass die-offs that we've seen. It's, again, all about basically trampling underfoot that divine Shakti Shekinah. Shekinah is the divine feminine from the Hebrew Judaic tradition. And again, when the Holy Spirit came, the Comforter, and lit the fire on the crown chakra, which connects you to Source and all, that's the Shekinah. That's the divine feminine. That's what the Holy Spirit, so to say, really truly is. It's understanding that we are 99%, more than 99% vacuum. And, I think it has the exact quote in one of these to the number, but it's way more than 99% of us is just truly vacuum. It's just emptiness. And that is the reality, is that we are constantly creating our reality. So by pre-programming us and locking us into certain mindsets, they are limiting our possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And they have deliberately gone to great lengths to see to it that that divine feminine energy is traumatized. And what the guides keep telling us to tell you guys how important it is right now to heal, because as this energy is released, you're kind of forced to heal. You're forced to heal your wounds so it can be raised up evenly and it can be released. It's going to be released from everybody. The sun allows this to happen in this time. I think for at least the next 10 years, this is what's going to be happening. And our own healing is the most critical thing that we can do right now so this energy can come back in a balanced way.
Yes, and there's been so many great philosophers through so many different systems that have brought us this wisdom. And as this article says, perhaps they didn't understand the modern theory of quantum physics as such, but they understood it from a deeper standpoint. Buddha said all experiences are preceded by the mind. Have in mind as their master created by mind. Guard well your thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. And Yeshua did say again, that it's our thoughts. If we've even thought of something, it's as if it's already happened. So we have to be very careful about that. And that gets us into a tricky area where when you see things that are happening and they are happening around us, such as taking away people's rights, we can go and stick our head in the sand. We can choose to go to a high mountaintop and work on ourselves and see if we can get ourselves to personally ascend out of it, and it is possible. There have been tens of thousands of cases of Buddhist monks that have achieved a rainbow body and ascended out. Yet, there are those of us that are what we would call star seeds, light workers, that are here for the whole purpose, or bodhisattvas, that are here for the whole purpose of helping the rest of humanity to rise up and out of this limited lockdown way of thinking. Because we have been locked down, and until we recognize the lockdown on every angle, we're still going to be trapped in the system. And we must free our minds. We must free our minds. And this gets into the quantum field. And Lynn McTaggart wrote a good book, The Field. That's a great one to read if you've never been exposed to anything like this. Greg Braden wrote one, something with the field. I forget what it was called exactly as well. But it's all about the observer. We've talked about the fractal nature of the universe. Is it a coincidence that this looks like an eye? Is it a coincidence that when we see the very stars out there, they form what looks to be a neural network? No, it's a pattern. It's how things are done. You know, we could look to pi and see the expression of this pattern all throughout nature. And that should be something that frees us, because we can ascend. People can ascend at any time. And as we've shared, what we've gotten was that Yeshua, didn't die on the cross. That's actually the Illuminati, Anunnaki, Ijiji blood sacrifice philosophy that they've given humanity. His purpose was to show us how to ascend physically without death, and he actually did that, is what we have gotten. Others have gotten that too as well. And again, we've gotten that through our interactions directly with him, which when we get to the higher densities, when you have full Kundalini activation and your pineal gland is fully functioning, you're not limited by the laws that we see operate during a dark age like this one in the Kali Yuga, which is ending. This is the ending years of the dark age. We're going to be stepping out of this dark age, and that's why the system is reacting so violently to the expansion of consciousness in the masses. People will be able to contact people of different times, different eras, that are not necessarily, quote unquote, in the flesh at the same time, and have direct communication with them, as Cindy is able to do.
That's right. You can contact people in ways that are not understood on this 3D plane. You can contact people through different forms of energy or on a quantum level. They like to teach us so much that everything you see on the outside of you is all that there is. They teach us this as soon as we can walk, that only things outside of you that are solid are real. And that immediately shuts down your pineal gland. It just shuts it right down. It tells it no longer works. If you've ever seen the story of the little elephant who was tied to a very strong pole as a young one, and as it grew up, it went from a pole to just like a simple chair. Well, that poor elephant thought it was still tangled to the same object and that it couldn't move. But this is where we're at. We are these full-grown entities with all of these abilities, and we think that we can't go anywhere because of our teaching, because of our conditioning.
So Carl Jung, had spoken about this collective unconsciousness, subconsciousness. He speaks of our consciousness does not necessarily create itself. It wells up from unknown depths. And the fact that we are all just like one individual drop of water in an ocean of consciousness. So again, there is also quantum entanglement, where everything is connected to each other throughout this quantum network. And we can connect to consciousnesses that walked the planet 2,000 years ago. That really is not an impossibility. It's something that can be done. In these ages that are to come, when we get out of this dark age, it's going to be much more common. Do you really want to know what Yeshua's favorite meal was? Well, you'll be able to ask him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. And even now there are people that can do things like this and connect with other beings. And actually with ETs, again, most of the intelligent extraterrestrial interdimensional life out there communicates telepathically. Mm-hmm. This is the universal language. And so when we look to what happened to the Anasazi people, because there have been many groups of people that have ascended, here today, gone tomorrow. The disappearance of the ancient Puebloans, known as the Anasazi from Chaco Canyon in the 12th century, is an enduring mystery that's still debated to the day. Now, this one person had thoughts on what happened to them, and people have posited everything from being absorbed into other people, packing up and leaving, going thousands of miles away, cannibalism, even, where it was so bad that they ended up consuming each other, and others came in and consumed them. You know, this settlement had a population of over 2,000 people, seemed to prosper in a very, very harsh environment. Was the environment as harsh in those days? Well, it appears it was, but again, you know, we've had so much chaos, destruction, mud floods, you name it, on this planet. But what we've gotten was that these people was what they termed a heavy ascension.
Yeah, it was called a heavy ascension, and that's what I'm left with. I haven't been able to understand exactly what that means. That's just what they told me. It's a heavy ascension, and I'm sure there's a better understanding out there somewhere. And it feels like almost like ascended in your physical body. That's what I'm taking it as.
Yeah, that their their whole body is just gone. There are other groups that have ascended like that as well, including some of the giants, so to speak, that we hear of in legend, where they just basically decided they didn't want to be here anymore. As we were descending into the control of the current controllers that are on the planet, they just shifted their consciousness and they were gone. And we can do that with training. And this is, again, brings me back to the beginning of this video with the comment by somebody over at Adapt 2030's channel that said yoga is nothing but some exercise with a little splicing of mysticism in it. No, yoga is union. It means union. Now, there's many different forms of yoga, and that's just a huge other subject to get into. But the ultimate goal is samadhi, in some cases, reunion with source, and the knowledge of the fact that source lies within us and the oneness of all things. And we touched on the cities, the superpowers that some yogis have been able to exhibit. And one of our brothers today that we were talking to, that studied under a particular lama, which is, again, a Buddhist monk, so to speak, he witnessed um, he witnessed he witnessed a monk disappear, dematerialize while meditating, and then rematerialize. He saw this. There have been cases of people even filming, and of course people will say, well, you know, it's going to be some sort of trick, but people have seen and even filmed some monks levitating, as well as manifesting other sorts of miraculous powers. Now, these miraculous powers will be the norm in the coming ages. These powers will be available to people, and we have gotten from the galactics that people would be starting to manifest these powers in about 5 to 6 years' time, naturally, without necessarily even doing intensive yogic meditative practices, just because of the DNA changes from the cosmic rays that are coming in. This is part of the cycle. They know that. And if everybody on the planet had opened up fully activated Kundalini and pineal glands, their illusion wouldn't work. It would be over. Game over. This is why you see everything happening. This is why everything is happening, because we will no longer be able to be fooled and tricked. We will know that it's all been a bunch of bunk. And they know their time is very, very short. Again, 5 to 6 years' time, people are going to be starting to manifest these yogic superpowers without even regular practice. Those that are practicing, maybe it'll come even a little bit quicker. And, you know, again, their time is short. So that is why all this is happening. That's completely why. They will not be able to maintain the ruse anymore.
Exactly. And, taking care of yourself, we have to remember the importance of going within is that these abilities are a side effect of going within and sitting with yourself and doing the meditation, doing your mantras, doing all of this inner work. These are things that you're gifted, uh, at birth or even in prior lifetimes that you've worked on. And none of us really know which abilities are going to show themselves, but you do find out after you've been doing these for a little while, you start to see changes in yourself, and then you have a deeper understanding.
Absolutely. And I've shared with you guys before, and I just want to share again. When I was 5 years old, my brother died, and I remember being brought back from the funeral and just standing in the kitchen by myself, staring at the wall, and just thoughts of him, and I'm never going to see him. I don't understand, and wondering what's going on. Then all of a sudden, I found myself behind myself and above myself, out of my body, looking down at my body. And then it was like a voice was saying to me, I'm not the body. I'm not the body. I inhabit the body, but I'm not the body. And ever since then, I knew that we are consciousness. Meditate on that. I am no thing. I am not the body. I have the body. I inhabit the body at times, but I am not the body. I am no thing, because we are no thing. We are consciousness itself. And that consciousness is eternal. And so that is something that once discovered can lead to amazing freedom. And there's no way we'll be able to be controlled.
Yeah, there's a meditation or a mantra that I learned a while back, saying, I am not the body, I am not the mind. And try that mantra, see where that takes you. It's one that is supposed to help separate you from the physical or emotional pain that you are in and bring you healing. And in its place comes healing. So, and it did work for me. It really helped me tremendously. So I hope some people might try that and find some relief.
So, as always, guys, may Source bless you with abundant love, peace, happiness, and may you create your own way to your heart's desire. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.